that's what I wanted was all like, let's not try to make the people on top more rich type thing.
Yeah.
The model is made so that anyone who's brand new could out earn or even outrank anybody that's been in this business for a long time. And we've seen it. The person that introduced me to this business and myself are the same exact rank. And I think there's been a few months where I've out earned her. And it's something we celebrate because it's part of the compensation plan where we get to do that, whereas MLM doesn't allow you to do that.
Welcome to the Breakthrough and Conquered podcast, the show where we'll break free of old patterns and generation curses that have held us back for far too long. I'm your host, Claudia Garcia, and in this space, you will gain the tools and resources to help you create a life-changing transformation. Together, we will learn to think, act, and become the top 1% by conquering limited beliefs, boost productivity, and know exactly what it takes for you to live out your dream life. And today we will even unlock the secrets of high ticket affiliate marketing so that way you know how to make this all possible. So, I want to welcome my second guest of the podcast. She is a mother, she's an author, she's a fellow first gen Latina generation cycle breaker, and also an online business coach. So, that's how we've met. So, I love to introduce Jasmin Valdez.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for you to be on here.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone knows, but we haven't actually had a chance to have like a full conversation. So this is basically a time for us to just catch up, and I'm just excited to get to talk to you.
I know, because I think the last time we talked was Vegas, and
Exactly.
that was last year.
Yeah, it's been like a year and a half, I believe, already. So it's been a long time.
I know. And the reason why I wanted you on the podcast because one, you're always so inspiring. I feel like we also go through similar backgrounds, but you always help me out. Like I remember at Vegas, I was a hot mess and like my tag was falling and you're just like, girl, I got you. Let me fix this for you. So pretty much I would love to hear more of like your background, catch up a little bit. And can you tell me about your background of being a first gen Latina, a mom? And what inspired you to even start a business?
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on how far back we should go here. But I would say, just in general, before starting this business, like I was the first in my family to get to go and graduate from college, which is so exciting. But education was like a huge pressure on me because of that. And so once I graduated, it was kind of like a what do I do for myself now? Like everything up until that point had been for my family, for my mom. I was raised by a single mom. So after college, it was kind of just trying to figure out, well, like, what do I want to do with my life and what does this look like? And I had no example of what that should look like because I was the first to do it. So
Yeah.
I ended up in retail management. I got my degree, I got my bachelor's in business management
Mhm.
with an emphasis in leadership in organizations. So I knew I wanted to lead a team of some sorts in some way. I got hired on right after my internship to do management with Target, and it was actually a lot of fun in the beginning. I love getting to lead people. I love getting to have a team. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't know who decided it was a good idea to trust a fresh out of college person with like suddenly knowing how to run a multi-million dollar business.
Yeah.
But I figured it out, and it was a lot of fun. I was definitely on the scope of I want to climb the corporate ladder. I want to get as high up as possible. I want to set up my family financially because of the way I grew up. I grew up very low income.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was the way to do it. So I was like, I'm just going to keep promoting, get myself up there. And I remember having the conversation with my husband of like, if we can even just get to like a $200,000 a year salary, like we're
Yeah.
good. Well, we're rich. Like that's the dream. And so
Yeah.
that's what we wanted. And then we ended up getting pregnant, which was a complete surprise to us. We were at the point where we didn't even know if we wanted kids because we were both so focused into our careers.
Yeah.
And it ended up happening. It kind of shook my world. I kind of had to rethink a lot of things as far as like, well, what does that mean for my career now? Like, I almost thought of it as like oh no, this is going to hold me back in my career instead of
Yeah.
thinking of it as like, oh, forget my career. I'm about to have a child. I think I was still going through some like, what does this look like? I have no
Yeah.
idea what we're going to do. And even through up until he was born, I actually
Mhm.
was planning on going back to work. And not necessarily, I hadn't quite decided yet, but I was like, maybe we should just see what it would look like if I did. Like, I don't know what's the worst that could happen. And we ended up touring a daycare. We walked right out. It was the only daycare that we toured. And I said, absolutely not. I cannot do this. I will not return back to work. And
Yeah.
that's when the search for something different started. I didn't know what that looked like, what I was going to find, or what I was going to do, but I wanted to find something. I knew I didn't want to work from home, like on a computer or on my phone all day long, because it's the same thing as if I were just not home during that time. And that's when I ran across this business. And we can dive into a little bit more, but I was super hesitant, very skeptical. It actually said no twice before I even actually dove in, just because I had a lot of fears around it. And then
Yeah.
eventually, I dove in, and here we are almost 3 years later.
Yeah, it's so crazy to hear your story because it's so similar to mine. Like first gen Latina, first one in the family to go to college and got pregnant by surprise. But it is actually like I want to go back to that just a little bit because I think it's so crazy how like that's the mentality. It's like you have a child and you kind of like, oh no, this is gonna kind of hold me back from my career. And there is a little bit of truth behind that.
Yeah,
Because I don't know if you can relate to this, but once I became I like, don't get me wrong, I love my son. But the
right.
moment I had my son and like, my career did kind of take a little hit because of it, I kind of felt this like, is this it? Like, am I just gonna kind of be a mom? And there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that, but it's just like
Right.
you felt destined for more because you wanted more for your family than just kind of like the basic lifestyle.
Yeah,
And
all the time. I remember having a conversation in my office, like crying to my coworker. And I remember so vividly that I remember being like, I know I'm not supposed to be here. Like I know I'm meant to be doing something else. I don't know what that
yeah,
looks like. And that was years before I ever even ventured into something like this. So I think we both kind of knew, like, yeah, what? This doesn't feel right, but like what does feel right? Like we don't know.
yeah. And it's crazy how you mentioned that you said no twice to this business. Like, why? What changed your mind, or why did you say no in the first place?
Yeah, so the first time I found out about it was actually when I was in my third trimester, actually almost exactly 3 years from right now,
Oh my
um,
gosh.
because I was getting ready for Black Friday season, and retail is
Mhm.
chaotic.
Yeah.
During COVID times was super scary. I was pregnant. I had a not the greatest pregnancy. I was very sick. And so I was throwing up
Oh,
at work. I was crying in my office. I was running around the sales floor trying to get everything ready for Black Friday. I was so exhausted, so tired. I would go home just to sleep and then come back again early the next morning. We would have to do
oh
like
my
5 a.m.s
gosh.
to be able to prep everything, stay late. I would have to stay till like midnight, sometimes 1 a.m. to just get stuff prepped. It was a disaster.
I can't
And so
believe you
you
did
would
that in your
think
third trimester.
I don't know how I did it. I don't think I could do it again. But the thought of
Yeah.
that just it's I'm tired even just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you would think, like you said, like hearing that, that wasn't even my line in the sand moment. It
Hmm.
was actually I had heard about the business at that time when I was going through all that, and I
Hmm.
said, I'm too busy right now. I literally don't
Yeah.
even have time to think. So I said, no, thank you. Can you please like send me this information again when I'm in a better headspace, when I have more
Yeah.
time, when I have a second to like sit down and look at this information? So I said, can you please send me this information when the baby is here? And this was again like November-ish time, 3 years ago. And so February of that next year, so like several months later, my son was about to be, I think, 2 months old. I was in maternity leave. I had a full 4 month maternity leave, which I'm so thankful for. I know
Yeah.
not a lot of people can get that time, but I was 2 months in, and I feel like that's when I started hitting the point of like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like, what does this look like? And I'm so thankful that the person that introduced me to this business reached back out to me and was like, "Hey, I'm just checking in to see like how's everything going? Were you looking to go back to work? Like, what does that look like?" And I said, I don't know. I'm looking for something. I really don't want to go back to work, but I don't know what that looks like. She
Yeah.
sent me the information again. I watched it. I watched the whole thing. And that night when my husband got home, I said, I just wasted my time because I don't want to be a part of an MLM. And I messaged that person right away and I said, thanks for spending time on like sending me this information. I don't
Yeah.
think it's for me. And I kind of had moved on from it. And she was like, how about we hop on a call? Just want to go over, see like if there's anything we can help with. I had a huge misunderstanding about the business. I don't think
Yeah.
I quite understood it from the videos. And so I said, sure, I'll hop on a call. We ended up scheduling a time, and I ended up pushing that call another week because I was like, I'm not doing this. So, like, why am I hopping on a call with someone?
Yeah.
During that week, I had my line in the sand moment of like, well, if I'm not going to do this, then what am I going to do? Because if I don't do this, I have to go back to work, and I don't want to go back to work. That was the
Yeah.
time period we went and visited the daycare. So by the time I hopped on the call, I was like, well, you know what? All these other people are seeing success in it. Why would it be any different for me? Like, I've proven to myself that I can do all these hard things. If I can be the first one in my family to break so many cycles, to go to
Yeah.
college, to get a degree, to have a career that no one in my family has ever had, why would this be any different? Like, I know I'm capable of doing it. And so I dove in, and I had some pretty early on success, and here we are. It's been just a crazy journey for me overall.
Yeah. And I definitely want to touch back because I definitely want to give like the listeners a little bit of the secrets of high ticket affiliate marketing. And you mentioned how you thought this was an MLM.
Yeah.
And I still get that to this day, like 3 years in, and that's a common misconception. And would you describe, because I had kind of the same belief, but I kind of brushed it off.
Yeah.
Can you describe how like the difference between the two?
Of course, yes, because I still get it to this day as well, and I think I'm kind of glad I went through that phase of it before starting my
Oh
business, so I
yeah.
could understand where people are coming from. I think traditionally MLMs are very much people on top, people introducing you to a business are making money while you are cold messaging people, really putting in a lot of effort to be able to make, typically a lot of them are low ticket, so you can be selling products, making very little money for the amount of effort that you're putting in. But for every sale you make, somebody above you is making money. Whereas our business model is that there is actually a point in time that you can hit very early on in your business where nobody is making any money off of any of your efforts. And when I actually heard that for this first time, I was like, "Oh, I'm in. Like, if I'm going to be putting in effort, I want to be paid for all the work I'm doing." And I hit that pretty early on, where
Yeah.
like the person that introduced me to this business doesn't make any money off of my sales anymore. That's what I wanted, was all like, let's not try to make the people on top more rich type thing.
Yeah.
The model is made so that anyone who's brand new could out earn or even outrank anybody that's been in this business for a long time. And we've seen it. The person that introduced me to this business and myself are the same exact rank. And I think there's been a few months where I've out earned her. And it's something we celebrate because it's part of the compensation plan where we get to do that, whereas MLM doesn't allow you to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And also want to preference that like the compensation plan that we're in, it's a patent compensation plan. And what that means is like there's nothing out like it. Like there's MLMs usually have a similar payout format. And with that being said, I love how you said it's like, yeah, the person on top doesn't always make more money than you. In the beginning, yeah, we do kind of earn a little commission of the people that we help bring in to our team because we're helping them get them to the success that we want them to see. And this community is very like, I want to see everybody win. Like I cannot wait for like my team to get to that level as well. And you kind of reference like you guys celebrate it together that you guys are in the same rankings. Sometimes you make more than
Yeah.
her. And that's the difference between an MLM and what we do. With that being said, I know we talked about like you being like breaking these cycles of in your family. And I know one of your biggest goals in your family is to become like the first millionaire in your family. So, how has that changed since when you first started to like how it is now?
Oh my gosh, it's so different now. I think growing up, because we were very low income, you grow up in such a scarcity mindset that there's
Hmm.
never enough money, that it's just never around, and that it's hard to get, that you have to work really, really freaking hard for it. And then I started learning more about like gratitude and like, oh
Yeah.
wait, you actually don't have to like burn out and like actually destroy your mental health to be able to earn a ton of money. And that was a huge shift for me because I was like, what do you mean? No, I've always been taught you work really hard for your money. And
That
so there were
part.
a lot of, yes, exactly. There were so many different things that were introduced to me that I was like, that's not what I've heard. Like, that's not how I grew up. That's not what I've been told about money.
Yeah.
And I think that I always just came from a place of questioning anyway. So like being open to it and hearing like, okay, wait, if the way I grew up and the mindset I've always had has kept me in that financial spot, what if there's a whole different mindset
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be having about money that would allow me to have more of it? Because if you think about it, like millionaires out there are not thinking about money. First of all, they don't think about money as much as we do.
Yeah.
Definitely not as much as like my mom did growing up. And there's no scarcity around it. They know that whatever happens, they're going to be able to make any amount of money happen regardless of what they're doing. And I think there was a lot of when I first had the idea of like, oh well, why not shoot to become the first millionaire in my family? I've
Yeah.
been the first in so many other things, why not shoot for this? I started learning a lot more about, well, like, how does a millionaire view money? Like, how do they think, how do they act, how do they say things? And I realized it's completely opposite of everything I was ever taught and the way
Yeah.
I grew up. And so it was really hard to kind of rewire a lot of the beliefs I already had around it, my relationship with money, because I feel like it's such a weird topic that people like get nervous to talk about, of like
Yeah.
how much money you make and how to earn more of it and all of this stuff. And it's like it's just money. So I don't know that a lot of people know this, but like only I think it's like only 4 to 6% of actual money is printed, is physical money. The rest doesn't even exist. Money
Yeah. That's
doesn't
crazy.
even exist. And it just blows my mind because it's like, how do we allow something that doesn't even exist to literally cause arguments with your partner, to cause fights within family, to like there's just so many negative things that have came about the belief in money, not money itself.
Yeah.
And that's something I think is super important as well, is that we blame money for so many things. But if you think about it as being in a relationship with somebody, like in a relationship with money, for you to be blaming them for something, for you to be talking negatively about them, for you to try to control them, like that's a very toxic relationship. And that's not how a relationship should be. The same thing goes with money. Like you shouldn't be trying to control it. You shouldn't be trying to be negative about it. You shouldn't be
Yeah.
upset with it. You shouldn't be blaming it for so many different things. And I just have a world of a different view on what money is now.
Yeah, and I kind of want to go a little bit deeper about like specifics of like how the scarcity mindset works and how like a growth mindset works because I love how you said like you have a relationship with that money and you wouldn't be controlling that person. Like if you think about a healthy relationship, are you scared to lose them or are you confident that they won't go anywhere?
Exactly.
Or, if you are really controlling everything that they do and say, you can't do this, you can't do that, are you truly in a happy relationship?
Oh my
And it's the
gosh.
same thing with the money. It's just, and I always tell this to like my friends and family, like money is an energy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the different mindset I even had of how to even look at money in a healthy way. So, what were some of your old beliefs that were maybe coming from a scarcity mindset? And what are some practices that you do now to really help you shift that mindset to become the first millionaire in your family?
It's funny you asked this because I feel like recently I've been going through that of like, I want to know what I used to think.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard now. I'm like, it's kind of a good thing that I don't quite remember, but I definitely remember just blaming money for not being enough. So like if I would get paid and I would receive a paycheck, I would immediately be like, this is not enough. This is not going to cover everything I need to pay for, or
Yeah.
not even acknowledging it, like really just very passive, very like almost angry at it of like,
Yeah.
why can't I get more money? Like, why is this not enough? Why does XYZ cost X amount? Like, it's almost like this anger that people have built towards money when money is not even the real problem. And I
Yeah.
think that if I had to choose like one emotion or one word to describe my
Yeah.
past self, it's like angry. Like, I was just angry at so many different things.
Yeah.
And that just created more of it. Like, if I'm sitting here and I use this example all the time. It's like if someone gave you a gift and you're sitting here complaining about it, being like, it's not enough. Like this is not even what I wanted. Like whatever, you're not going to get more. Who is going to want to give you more of that when that's your attitude towards it? Like to be actually grateful for it, to be grateful. I think you said this in one of your most recent episodes of like, be grateful that you get to pay your bills, your light bill, your rent. Like there are people in this world that don't get that luxury of being able to afford groceries in 1 week. And that's the big shift I had was like, yes, it felt like at the time it wasn't enough because maybe we couldn't travel, we couldn't get extra stuff, but like it
Yeah.
was paid for. We bought a house with it, we bought a brand new
Yeah.
car with it, like we took care of our family with it. And for me to have been sitting there not grateful for it, it just showed everything on why I wasn't making more of it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, 100%. And that's why in my intro I even mentioned we have to think like them. We have to act like them. That's the only way we become a millionaire because we're thinking of how they look at money. And a huge thing that I think in my journey, and I'm still working towards it because
Yeah.
again, the programming of like all these years, it takes time to like unprogram as well.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned how you don't have to work hard for your money. And
Yeah.
I think that is huge because think about the people who work the hardest, the people who work in the field, the janitors, the people who clean houses, like, or people who work 50, 60, even 70 hours
Yeah.
and still barely make enough to cover the bills. They should be millionaires, but that's not the case. It really is learning how to reprogram yourself to not have to work hard to earn money. And I think that was like one of the hugest things with this business. Like for me, it was I did everything. I did the follow-ups. I did this, I
Yeah.
did that, and I would always have like a certain number. But I would also feel burnt out at the end of the day. And what's crazy about this business is the less I work and the more fun I have, the more money I make. And
Yep.
it's so insane.
I say that even now to my mom. I'm like, you need to have more fun. Like, stop stressing. And she's like, well, I don't want to waste time. I don't want to like this and that. And it's so funny because yeah, we were in that mindset of like, and like you said, I stand behind that of like, if that were the case, my mom would have been a
Yeah.
millionaire a long time ago to need to have to work hard for it. And it wasn't until
Yeah.
probably this year in my business where I really started letting go more and being in that flow state of like, money can just come to you if you're enjoying life. That's the whole point of it. And it's just crazy how you see it happen because
Yeah.
it's really hard to release that control. And then when you see it happening, you're like, oh wait, I was not even working on my business and I had my highest month in the business. Like, how does that
Yeah.
work? And it just
Yeah.
it just keeps validating itself the further you get into this business.
Yeah, and I think that's the craziest part to even I still get shocked by it because it's still
Yeah,
insane because we weren't brought up that way. But yesterday I co-hosted a live webinar and they talked about how Ashley, she made over 70K thousand dollars while she was on her honeymoon. Like she didn't
yeah,
even touch her phone. And
yeah,
I think that's what also kind of like attracted this business to me because I didn't want to trade my time anymore. I wanted to be a present mom and you also want to provide more. But going back to like the business and family,
yeah,
um, what did your family think about this? Because I know like my husband was like, this is a scam, Claudia, you're too
yeah.
nice. But like, what was your experience when you first got started?
I was very fortunate that we live away from family. We live in a completely different state. And so I wasn't near them all the time. They actually didn't even find out I was in this business until probably like a half a year in. Really, my husband was the only one that knew. He's always been very supportive. So even when I was the one telling him, no, I don't want to do this because it's an MLM, he was still very supportive of like, well, why not? Like, why would you not want to do this and stuff like that? So I really never got to encounter that. And my mom has always been someone that's like, I want you guys to own businesses one day and like to be successful. So even when
Yeah.
she did find out about it, she was very supportive of that. And I think it's so I'm glad I went through that experience because I know a lot of people don't receive that experience. So I think sometimes people think it's not even possible to have that support. So to be able to live through that and get that experience, I think is nice because now I can be able to show people what it does look like when a
Yeah.
family member is very supportive, or how to be able to get your family or partner or spouse to become supportive of what you're doing because it really is important at the end of the day. Like it could be the reason that this business is successful or not, because if someone doesn't believe in you and you hold a lot of value to that person, you suddenly start not believing in yourself, and that's really
Yeah.
important as well. So I'm now in a place where even if the partner's not a part of the financial decision, I'm like, we need to get your husband on this call because I need to also have a conversation with anybody who's going to be living with you to know, for them to know that it's very important for them to support you in this journey if they want this to work for you. And of course, all partners aren't going to sit there and say, no, I don't want this to work for her. Of course,
Yeah.
I want it to work for her. And it just does really well as far as like sometimes people just aren't aware that they need to support you or that it's valuable to you. And I think that's where sometimes the lack of support comes, or it's maybe the lack of information, evidence, whatever it needs to be. So as far as like anyone on my team, I provide that information, even if that partner is not part of their financial decision, because I really do think it's very important to have the support there from family and your partner.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's another similar thing. It's like even though my husband did think it was like a scam, he believed in me. Like
Right.
that was the support that you need to be successful in this business because life is hard enough. Like this business, like when you're learning to balance everything, it can be challenging because you're really diving into personal development.
Mhm.
So why not have an extra hurdle if you don't have the support of your family? But
Yeah.
I think how you said it was perfect. And even my own family, like my family still doesn't understand what I do. My mom just
No.
always was like, "How's the business?" And I'm like, "It's
Yeah.
good." Like I don't know what it is. And even it's funny, actually recently my sister was like, yeah, when you first kind of told me about it, I was a little iffy about it, but I'm not going to tell you like
Right.
not to do
Oh,
something you want to do. And I think that's where I'm also very fortunate that my family is always like échale ganas. Like whatever you do, échale
yeah.
ganas.
Yes.
And they're like if you want to do something, you go after it. And I think that's always I think a key to like even my own success that they always were always so supportive. So it does really break my heart when people are like no, they're not supportive of doing this, but it's like, do you not understand how this can actually really change the trajectory of your life?
No, it changes so much. And to your point, like some people don't even understand it when they are supportive. So it's okay to be in that place. My niece was just born, and so my mom is here with us. And she the other day goes, "Do you work tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Mom, that's not how it works. Like it's not like I clock in tomorrow to work on my business." And I was like, "Why? If you want to go do something, let's go do something." She's
Yeah.
still very new to the idea. Even 3 years in, she doesn't understand that it's like, no, I decide when I work, okay? And so even after telling her that, she'll still ask me like, "Do you work tomorrow?"
And you know what's so crazy? I feel like now that we've been kind of in the like now that we're entrepreneurs and we don't have like a set schedule, it's kind of harder to relate to people who do. And like I say for example if I go get like my legs waxed or something and my wax she always I don't think she remembers me every single time but she always like oh are you done working and I'm like oh no
Yeah.
like I set my own schedule she goes oh that's nice so do you work tomorrow and I'm like I mean if I want to
Yeah, I get that a lot as well. And they're like, "Oh, are you off today?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's call
yeah
it that."
yeah I know and then even like my mom and my godmother when I'd like go visit them they're just like oh like did you make a lot or whatever or they're just like they don't really understand how it works and I kind of have to explain like I set my own schedule
Yeah.
I really prioritize other things over my schedule but I still get things done and
Yeah.
I think the craziest thing that I've learned in this entrepreneur journey is that you can get a lot done in one day that's technically a week's worth of work Or if I go hard for a whole month, that can
Yeah.
be like a year's worth of work. Um,
Yeah.
and I think so going back to people who work a 9 to 5, I'm just like, oh my God, like you're wasting so much time. Like you could probably get that thing done if you were very productive in a short time and actually be able to produce more. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird thing that like it's you kind of like stop
I
losing touch in that.
Yeah, I just had that happen today. I posted it on my social media as well. Because this morning I was like in bed and I posted a reel on my Instagram and then I took some cute pictures because I had my hair all done. And it was 1 hour of my time. That 1 hour of my time could bring in over $7,000 for us. And
Yeah.
doing the math, that was 350 hours of what I it would have taken me to have earned the same amount in
Mm-hmm.
my previous career. And it's like when you put it side by side like that, like would you rather spend 1 hour to make 7 grand or would you rather spend 350 hours to make it? Everyone is going to choose the 1 hour, but you have to be able to put in that work and get to a point where you can spend 1 hour on your business and really rely on the systems and automation that are in place to get you there. But it still blows my mind. Even this morning, I was like, wait, what? Like doing the math that way, I was like, that's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, and it is. And I mean, it's so crazy. So a lot of women that I get started, they're always kind of like scared to invest that money. And how would you like help somebody who is in that scarcity mindset of seeing that, wow, like this opportunity is a lot of money. And rightfully so, it's a business, there's going to be an investment. But how do you help somebody get out of that scarcity mindset to a growth mindset to see that it's not just you're putting something in, you're actually going to gain something out of it?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I always think as far as like cuz I get asked a lot like what advice would you have for people and I always think back to the old me that had to say no twice before saying yes. Like what would the old me have wanted to hear? What would have actually caused her to have taken action before when she thought she was busy, didn't have enough time, didn't have enough money, whatever, to have actually taken the time to watch the information or gone through. And it always goes back to like the reason that you think you can't start the business is the exact reason why you need to start this business. If you don't have enough time, you need something that's going to allow you to have more time. If you don't have enough money, you need something that's going to give you more money.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough mental capacity to do a business, then you need something in place to give you more mental capacity.
Yeah.
And so I always say, like, do a review of your life up to this point and go through and see like how far have I came in X amount of years and what beliefs have I had? What thoughts do I constantly think? What kind of things do I say? What kind of goals do I set for myself? And know that like whatever you come up with during that time is the whole reason why you are where you are today. And none of that is going to change unless your thoughts, your actions, your words change.
Hmm.
And the thing is like that's the tactical stuff, the how to create a business, the whatever. I know sometimes that's people's fear. That's the easy piece. I tell
Yeah.
people that all the time. I can show you how to create an ad, how to run a business online. That's the easy piece. The hardest piece is to get someone to believe in themselves enough to be able to actually start the business or to stay committed with it because they lose belief or whatever and go through it. And I think something that everyone should know is that there are people in this industry. First of all, there's hundreds of thousands of people in this industry
Yeah.
making so much money and they all come from different backgrounds. Some people don't have a degree, some people do, some people are first gen Latinas, some are not. We've had people that were homeless when they started this business, didn't
Yeah.
have a dime to their name, sold their car, sold their like there's truly no excuse at the end of the day of why someone wouldn't be successful in this business. The only reason they wouldn't be is if they decided to not get started or to not put the work in. And that's why you have us as mentors, is to be able to
Yeah.
help guide you through that. So, like, I get it. If this were a like, hey, go try this, you're on your own, it's scary and you don't know what to do type thing, but there's so much support, so many answers, so many resources that you would have to try hard to fail in this industry. You would have to choose to give up. And as long as you're not choosing to do that, everyone can be successful. And so I hope that that's something that, like, I know there's a lot of fears around that of the time piece, the money piece, the whatever thing. As long as you have belief, that's all you need. That's what every single successful person in this business had when they started, was belief. And that's really what will get you to wherever you need to be in the long run.
Yeah, no, I think you hit that on the nail, girl. Like everything you said was so on point, and like there's so much proof in the pudding. Like there's people from different backgrounds. There's people who maybe have support, maybe don't have support, but what really separates people who are successful or not is that resourcefulness, creativeness, and also they they learn to have a sense of worth. Like, do you believe that you are worthy of making this much money? Do you believe that you are worthy to like actually make a difference in your life? Because I think it comes back to um like when people are like, "Oh, I don't know, like I don't know if I can actually make that much money." I was like, "Well, you have to believe that you're worthy because your thoughts will create your habits and your habits become your routine, and your routine is your reality. So if you're not
Exactly.
believing that you are worthy to make too much money, or you have this like strange relationship with money, or you don't actually believe that this business is worthy, like your reality is going to show that. So it really does go back to like the mindset portion. And I always like kind of go when I talk to people, they're always like, I'm like, do you think you're worthy? Like, and I
Mhm.
kind of help them like, what's the social proof of your life that has taught you that you are worthy of taking up a challenge? You know, like
Yeah.
it's like what is your story that makes you so strong, that makes you a problem solver, that makes you confident, that like when were those times in your life that happened, and that's all the social proof that you need in reality.
Exactly. That's what I went through was like, yeah, I sat here and looked at the if you were to look back at everything I accomplished in my life, I still sat there and looked at this business as like, I don't know if I could do this. And it's so
Hmm.
silly looking back on it now because I'm like, I had all the proof. Like, if I had been able to do a million other things and accomplish other things, why would this be any different? And I think that's where people downplay themselves and like what they're capable of is like, if you've gotten this far poor, imagine what you can do when you
Yeah.
actually have money. That's the easy piece. You just have to be able to be open to getting started and receiving help and you're able to get there.
Yeah, definitely. So, what would you say to someone who is like maybe on the fence of getting started with this business, but truly wants to make a difference in their life? They want to be a present mom, maybe they want to travel, or maybe they also want to become the first millionaires in their family. Like, what would you tell them if maybe they're in a stuck of a scarcity or victim mindset?
Honestly, I think it comes down to like you are more than capable. Like you've done the hard part. If you've
Mm-hmm.
gone this long in scarcity, in poverty, with very little money, that's the hardest thing you're ever gonna have to do in life. It's like, but imagine what life will look like in a year, 2 years, 3 years. 18 months in, I got to retire my husband and he got to quit his job. So, like, imagine in 18 months where your life could be. You have to be able to put your fears aside to just be able to see what would happen if everything did work out for me. Because up to this point, you're probably thinking, okay, well, what if this doesn't work out for me? And I think that's what's gotten you this far. And so I think it's time to start asking yourself, what if it does work out for me? And
Yeah.
what if I can retire my partner in 18 months? And what if I can make $17,000 in 1 month? And it starts getting a lot more exciting when you look at it that way.
Yeah, no, and that's beautiful because it really does come back to you. I we can be your biggest supporters, your family could be your biggest supporters. Like you can have like a proven system that actually works, but if you don't believe in yourself, like it's not going
Mhm.
to work. But if you do believe in yourself, it's going to work. It's just
Exactly.
it goes back to mindset. Well, thank you for being a part of the Breakthrough and Conquer podcast. If today sparks something in you, make sure to subscribe, leave a powerful review, share it with a fellow cycle breaker. And Jasmine, like, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at jasmine.e.valdez, and TikTok as well. Honestly, all my handles are the same, but you can find me on all social media.
Nice. And remember, the journey to breaking free from limited beliefs, creating a life of abundance, is a relentless pursuit. So, together, I'm confident that we could definitely achieve something extraordinary. And make sure to follow me on IG and TikTok at Claudia Conquers Life. And if you want to learn more about high ticket affiliate marketing, also check out www.claudiaconquers.com for more transformational and resources to really help you get a good understanding about high ticket affiliate marketing. Keep pushing your limits, defy the odds, and live a life with purpose. Until next time, stay unstoppable.